Hello, everyone. Welcome to the last session in our YouTube Ads Bootcamp. Thank you so much if you're tuning in live. We're super excited for today's session. My name is Alex, if you haven't joined us live before. And today you'll see that No is missing, and today we have someone new. I'm going to be introducing Magda, and she's going to be walking us through how to measure what matters on YouTube. So I'm super excited. So I'm going to actually pass over to Magda to get started, and I'm excited to learn as well.
So hello everyone, very excited to be here. I'm Magdalena Galkina. I am a regional product lead at Google for everything video. And I work with agencies in Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and helping them improve, helping them optimize the YouTube investment. And also I work a lot with clients, advising them on how to really take the most out of YouTube platform. And the topic that's top of mind for everyone is obviously measurement. So today, what we're gonna to talk about is how to measure how your YouTube strategy is working across the full funnel and how to really measure impact in a correct way so that to know if YouTube is working for you, if what you're doing is working, and also how to optimize it to really ensure that you can reach your marketing and business objectives with YouTube. So this is what we're going to talk about today. So first of all, we're going to do a short overview of what are the different measurement solutions across the full funnel. And then we're going to deep dive into each of them. I selected the ones that are really the ones that matter, and also some new stuff that recently got published on Google Ads that we're very excited about. And also after that, we're going to take a glance into the modern measurement solutions. So really the most advanced one that will help you measure the effectiveness of your whole digital strategy. And then at the end, there'll be time for Q&A. So during the session, you'll feel free to put the questions in the chat, and we're going to take them on and discuss them at the end of the session. So what is actually full funnel measurement? So generally why we're talking about the full funnel is that this is the strategy that we recommend nowadays. Basically, very often what we've been seeing is that we would have clients, we would have businesses who would be kind of like on the top of the funnel. So really talking, caring about reaching as many people as possible about the brand message, or brands and who would be focusing on just driving the sales or the leads. But what we're seeing is actually being on the full funnel from awareness down to actually convert to driving the online sales and lead generation is the most effective. Actually, we're seeing that when you're combining brand and also performance video on YouTube, you're having a 10% higher return on investment. And we have key solutions for each stage of the funnel. So we are focusing here on YouTube. So you might not see some of the solutions like Performance Max of Search that are very performance driven. So on YouTube, you would have for awareness, we have video reach campaigns who focus on reaching as many people as possible and as cheap as possible in your target demographic, in your target group. Then we have video view campaigns who focus on consideration. So basically, we care here about telling the message of like why you, the client, you should choose the my product or my brand. So here we care about the views. So people who view the whole message that you want to share with them. And then at the bottom of the funnel, we have demand gen campaigns who focus on actually your business objectives. So really driving either the sales or the leads, however you define it. Okay, so for each of the kind of stages of those funnel, we have different measurement strategies that we're gonna deep dive into. So let me just share you the overview here that we have. So for the awareness campaigns, which would be video reach campaigns, we would obviously measure the unique reach and the frequency, that is the duplicated. And then we have two lift measurements, which would be the brand lift, ad recall lift, and brand lift, the so-called brand awareness lift. For the consideration, so why you should buy my brand, why you should buy my product. We have the also another brand lift solution, which would be the consideration lift. We also have a new solution. We also have like new kind of like solution that we're putting here, which would be the search lift. So how many people searched for the brand or the product after seeing the ad, and also assisted conversions. And then at the bottom of the funnel, what we're coming into is obviously we would be looking at the conversions and also the effectiveness of the campaigns. I will also talk about the new column that we have nowadays in Google Ads, which would be platform comparable reporting, helping you compare the performance of demand gen campaigns against comparable campaigns in other platforms. We have again assisted conversions. Also, we recommend you to take a look at the impact on account CPA and ROAS, and I'll tell you when and how to look into this later on. And again, we have another brand lift solution, which would be consideration purchase intent. So there's a lot here. There's probably a lot of names that sound very cryptic, but don't worry. Now we're gonna to deep dive into them and deep dive into each of this solution and how to use it. So first of all, we're on the top of the funnel and we're talking about the unique reach and frequency. And what I would also love to stress here is like one of the common mistakes that I'm seeing when I'm working with advertisers is that they would be using like wrong measurement metrics for the wrong campaigns. So for example, unique reach and frequency is the objective of the awareness campaigns, so the VRC ones. I don't recommend to use it for demand gen, for example, which just focuses on a completely different objective and also uses probably a very different creative, or at least it should. So, unique reach and frequency. We simplified the reporting quite a lot in the recent years. So now I highly recommend to check the new brand report that is available in Google Ads interface under Insights and Reports. So basically, this is a very, very nice overview, which provides the duplicated reach, frequency, and also the cost efficiency for either one campaign or the group of these campaigns. And you can also view this by demographic and also by different slices of demographics like age and gender. These metrics are also available in campaign view, and they're so much easier now to access. So everything is there, pretty simple to view for awareness campaigns. Okay, then let's deep dive into the brand lift studies that we have available. So actually the brand lift is kind of like an umbrella name for different studies that can be run across the whole funnel. It's just for you to make a choice which one you choose for which campaign. So what is actually a brand lift? So the objective of the brand lift is to analyze the direct impact of campaigns and the video creatives that you're using on brand. So basically what we're doing here is that this is a lift study. So basically we would have a test group that should be seeing the ad, and because it's targeted by it. And then we take part of the audience that normally would have seen the ad, but instead we choose to show them the second ad in the auction. So they are still, what's very important here, those people are still in your target group, right? If you're targeting, let's say, women age 18 to 25, the control group will not be men, which would not skew the results here. And then we're measuring if the test group has, when compared to the control group, did they actually recall seeing an ad in a did they recall more seeing the ad in the control group, or did it change their perception? So the way it worked, probably if you're watching YouTube, you've seen those surveys, but basically there is an ad that was watched. It can be the ad that you run or the control ad, so that would be the second in the auction. Then we show to the test and the control group a survey with a question. It can be, for example, which of the following have you seen online? Have you seen like advertising? And you choose. And then after that, after normally like 7 to 14 days, you would have in Google Ads the results of what's the lift on, for example, in this case, the ad recall, right? There are different metrics that are available in this report. I highly recommend to use the relative lift as the main KPI that you decide if the campaign or the creative that you use was successful or not. And what is very important is for you also to pick the right brand lift study for the right objective that you have. So for example, for the awareness, we recommend either the ad recall one question. So it would be, which of these brands have you seen online video advertising for recently? And the brand awareness, which of the followings have you heard of? For the consideration campaigns, so video view campaigns, which of these brands would you consider using, or would you consider choosing, or potentially would you consider buying from? For the bottom of the funnel, so demand gen campaigns, you can set up a lift study which measures purchase intent. So next time you use one of the following brands, which one you're most likely to use, to choose, or to buy. In case of demand gen, generally I recommend the brand lift study to use as a kind of like a secondary KPI and focus more on conversions, but we'll deep dive into that later on. Okay, so those were the brand lift studies, and now let's talk about the search lift study. So search lift, we recommend to use it for the consideration campaigns. So because you can use it also for demand gen ones, but they work the best for actually middle of the funnel. So what is the search lift? So it's a lift studies. So we have a test and control group. And what we measure is, did the user search on Google or YouTube after seeing an ad? So basically, we show an ad to test and control group. Test group will see your ad. Control group will see second ad in the auction. And because we have access to this data, right? We have access to the search data on YouTube and also on search. We are able to tell if those people were actually looking for the brand that you gave or the product name that you gave later on Google or on YouTube. And then you're getting a search lift report. So you can specify like what kind of like names the algorithm, so like the backend should be looking for. It's good to kind of like do the choice that is like normally between 3 and 5 kind of words. That's a good like selection of 3 to 5 brands plus potentially brand plus product variations is good. It has to be obviously also very adjusted to your ad. And what is important here is that there are specific budget requirements for both brand lift and search lift. So those lift studies are totally free. However, basically to be able to give you reliable results, we need some minimum number of impressions and also therefore budget to actually collect this sufficient data. And also bear in mind that those brand lift results can never be guaranteed. Like we cannot control if people actually choose to respond to those surveys or not. For brand lift, like the requirements and also search lift depends on the country. So I gave some main countries that you might be advertising in. So for example, for like Germany, Austria, Italy, one question is 15,000, for 2 questions 30,000, and so on. For the countries like UK, US, France, Spain, one question is 10,000. And all those budget spends need to happen within the first 10 days of measurement. For the search lift, same requirements, but the budget needs to be spent actually in the first 8 days. So we have more time there. And also those budgets don't stack. So if you want to run both at the same time, brand lift study and the search lift study, you need to kind of like have double the budget. Okay, so now we're going more and more to the bottom of the funnel. So now let's talk about the assisted conversions. Assisted conversions, I recommend to watch them for the consideration and also especially for the demand gen conversion. So what is it? actually. So basically, it helps assisted conversions report. It helps prove how demand gen and video view campaigns are delivering assistive value. So basically, in attribution reports, what you can see is what are the kind of most common campaign type paths. So in case of this accounts, we see that actually 180K conversions, the most were just delivered after click on interaction with performance ads. Quite a lot were done with search. Then 9,000K were done through, let's say, somebody saw a video from Performance Max and then they clicked on search. And then we can see actually with your new kind of demand gen and YouTube campaigns, like how many times they assisted the conversion. And you can see if it's like 1%, 5%, and so on. So it can give you an extra data point to understand how they're contributing to the total number of conversions that you are having. And it can be segmented by the campaign tab or also by a specific campaign. Okay, so now let's go more into the conversions and also, so really what matters to you, right? So is actually YouTube campaigns. Are they delivering those sales or my leads or not, and how efficient they are? So this is a report. This is a metric that I recommend to measure and look at the bottom of the funnel, which would be for demand gen campaigns. And here, what also I want to underline is when it comes to attribution, especially when you're having so many campaigns, leverage data-driven attribution. It helps to really tell you like how the conversions are attributed on the whole account and what is really driving the final sales. This is kind of like the standard that we've been promoting for many years. Even when I joined Google 10 years ago, data-driven attribution was the main thing recommended. So I hope everyone has it in place in Google Ads. But what I wanted to deep dive into in this case would be about the differences between demand gen campaigns and also other platforms. Because with demand gen campaigns, demand gen campaigns would be the campaigns that are operating on YouTube, on different kind of like visual platforms at Google to drive your sales. And there are many comparable campaigns in other media, like for example, Advantage Plus with Meta. However, when you want to make a decision actually and figure out which of the campaign types is contributing to my final sales, there are some big differences between our platforms that might skew the results. So I want to talk a bit more about them. So first of all, there is a very different measurement of conversion types. So for example, we have like click-through conversions, right? I clicked on YouTube ads and then I converted. Engaged view conversions, which would be that I saw the ad for like at least 10 seconds and then I converted. View through conversions is I saw the ad for 1 second and I converted, right? So that was maybe a scroll or something like that. They are treated very differently across the platforms. So for Google, we only consider that the conversion happened if there was a click on the ad or there was an engaged view. So the ad was seen for at least 10 seconds, but the view through conversion, so the ad was seen, let's say, for two seconds. This is not, and the conversion happened, we don't count it in the conversion column. We count it as a separate column. However, this is not the case very often with other platforms. Like Meta, for example, would count this from like 3 seconds. Depends also on the conversion type, which is making it even more complicated. And TikTok, I think, from like either 1 second or 6 seconds. So highly recommend for you to also like deep dive into for which campaign types, how the conversions are actually calculated. Also, the attribution windows might be different. So kind of like the best standard and the best practice here is to make sure that those attribution windows are the same across all the platforms where you're advertising. So if it's 30 days on Google Ads, for click-through conversions, make sure it's the same for other platforms. This will make comparing the results so much more easier. And also the last thing, which might be the most complicated to understand, and I hope I'll visualize it a bit better. So basically, because Within Google Ads, you can do so many ads, right? You can do like YouTube ads when people are people are streaming and kind of like scrolling. You can do also search ads when people are really like looking for the brand and searching for that. The conversion is attributed in a different way, and it's kind of like spread around within Google. So let me visualize it, because it also took me a moment to understand that. Let's say like I'm a user, right? And I saw a YouTube ad through Google Ads, right? I interacted with it in a way, or just like watched it for like 20 seconds, right? And then let's say it was an ad for McDonald's, right? And then I actually looked for McDonald's. I looked for McDonald's restaurants. I saw the ad. I clicked on it, right? And I made a purchase. Let's say I ordered online a burger, right? So if you're using data-driven attribution, you have like, you see that, okay, half a conversion was attributed to demand gen, half a conversion to search, right? Let's see a similar path, right? So I saw McDonald's ad, let's say on Instagram Reels or Instagram Stories, right? I interacted with it somehow. And then I looked for McDonald's. I saw the ad, I clicked on it, and I ordered the burger online, right? This is a very similar path to purchase, right? Very similar kind of behavior. But because I don't know of good like data-driven attribution kind of methods across the platforms, but so you're looking normally separately at Meta, separately at Google. What you see is like Meta basically with Advantage Plus, let's say, drove one conversion, and Search drove one conversion. So when you're comparing the two, you kind of think that, oh, actually demand gen worked much worse, so I will invest more money in this, even though actually the path to purchase was pretty much the same here. So if you're facing a decision, if you have comparable campaigns, like for example, demand gen here, Advantage Plus and Meta, and like other ads in TikTok, which are comparable for the same objective, similar creatives, and you want to make a decision and see like which one is actually working the best and how to spend the budgets on each one, we added a new measurement parity column, which will help you actually compare those results. Like it's already very complicated, right? As I was explaining that. So we try to make it much easier for you to decide. So if you open Google Ads and you have this conversion campaign type in the brackets, this would be, you would have kind of this isolation of demand gen from the rest of Google ecosystem. So in that case, you would have like one demand gen conversion, basically, instead of half. And also the view for conversion will be included here. So that will help you make kind of like good comparison and evaluate how demand gen is working compared to similar campaigns in other media. Okay, now I'll be passing it to Alex.
Okay, before I get into what I'm going to talk about for Metricool, I just want to say that visual Magda was super helpful, because I think, like you said, it's very complicated, and I think that visual is a really nice way to kind of streamline it and to really understand. And I like that you guys added that parity column, because I think that's going to help so many advertisers out in terms, because most people, advertise on multiple platforms. So that's really interesting and exciting to see. And then I also just want to make a quick mention. If you did hop in a little bit late, this will be sent afterwards, the recording and the presentation. So anything that's hyperlinked in the presentation, you will have access to. So I know that Magda left some really great resources in a lot of these slides, so you will be able to click through and see all of those things. So I just wanted to quickly remind everyone of that, so that you'll have access to everything. Moving on to what I want to talk about today, I got to the go to talk about a really exciting feature that is coming soon to Metricool that kind of ties in to everything with measurement. And pretty soon we're going to have the option to boost posts in YouTube. We're calling it boost, but it's essentially running an ad on one of your pieces of content. And it's going to be really exciting. You'll be able to access it from both the planner and analytics, and these boosted videos will appear as either skippable ads or shorts. And we've made it super simple. If you've ever boosted a post in Metricool for Meta, you'll see it's a very similar process, but here you'll see in the screenshot, all you need to do is toggle on, and then we walk you through the steps of everything that you need to do to boost one of your pieces of content, which would essentially just be adding things like, of course, your budget, if you want your daily budget, your total budget. If you want to add a CPM bid, choose the amount that you want to spend, the language, the location, adding a headline, and of course, setting a destination URL. So this can be found directly in the planner. And then if you go into your YouTube presets, when you are setting up your content to be scheduled out, you can toggle on that boost this post and you'll start to see all those requirements. And we'll also have it in our analytics section, which you'll see in the next slide right here. So if you go down into your analytics, click into YouTube, and then go down into the list of videos, you can basically boost any past content that you have shared to YouTube. And it's going to be the exact same process. The only difference will be in the list of videos, you'll click the three dots, there will be a little boost button, and then it's going to ask you basically the same information as it did in the planner, your location, things like your languages, of course, your budget. And this is going to just make centralizing all of your data a lot easier. You'll also be able to see those metrics directly in the Metricool platform, but you'll also be able to see them in your Google Ads. So we're really excited to have this feature coming soon. Hopefully it will help everyone who is running advertisements just centralize their data a bit more. I don't have a specific publish date quite yet, but if you sign up for our newsletter or if you get the Metricool emails, you will for sure get an email when this feature is live. So keep an eye out for that. We're going to also drop the newsletter link in the comments.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, this makes it very easy actually to post this. Exciting. Yeah, going back to also like how, okay, so you posted your YouTube campaigns and also you want to figure out like how, what's the impact on the whole account and the whole kind of performance of the account. So one thing that obviously you can check is like you have a YouTube campaign and demand gen campaign, let's say, and you see how many conversions, right, and influenced it drove, and what was like the value of the sales. But what will happen as well, right? If you're running, for example, the awareness campaign, talking about your brand or about the new product launch, what you're gonna see there is also that eventually it impacts actually the conversions on the whole account, right? And the conversions and also the value of the conversions. And hopefully we're gonna see some better efficiency. So what is important here when you're looking at the account CPA? Account CPA, account ROAS is something that you can measure for any campaign type. I just listed here demand gen because most probably when you're running demand gen, you actually want to see impact on the sales as well. One of the most common things that I'm seeing when when the advertisers I'm working with are launching YouTube campaigns is they're saying like, I just started the campaign and 1 week later I don't see any sales happening. So with YouTube and also with any kind of like video content, that it normally takes time to see those sales happening, especially if one of your with your purchase to kind of like a customer journey is much longer. So what you can expect here is that normally within 2 weeks you will be seeing that the clicks are increasing, that the site visits are increasing, and also you might see some mid-funnel conversions on the rise, like maybe add to carts if you're a retailer, right? And within 30 days, you will probably see mid-funnel conversions increasing, these assisted conversions that I was talking about. And also, if you're doing search lift, you'll see the increase of the branded search volume. And normally within 60 days, this is when, in case of demand gen campaign, you might see an impact on the overall sales and revenue, and also search and shopping CPAs might also actually decrease, right? Because we're building this demand, we're creating this demand that we're later capturing through your shopping campaigns, your performance max campaigns, and your search campaigns. So this is when You can also check kind of on account level if maybe like 1 month, 2 months after, depends obviously on like what was the budget of the campaign, what's your business as well, right? You can monitor if the CPA on the account on the account level got better, and also the ROAS, depending if you're measuring the number of conversions or the revenue. Uh, so highly recommend you take a look at that. Okay, so now here we'll went through all the recommended kind of the standard measurement solutions that you have readily available in your Google Ads accounts that don't require some super advanced analytics as well. But I also want to give you kind of like a sneak peek into what, if you want to go further, if you really want to have a good holistic measurement solutions, how to what to think about and what to plan. So the way we kind of like now present those media effectiveness or like modern measurement is we recommend to have like 3 solutions in place. So first of all, we see the multi-touch attribution. Multi-touch attribution is basically looking at the conversions, right? What's the impact of your strategy, but also using the good data-driven attribution. And this is a solution that is best for real-time optimization, having automated bidding on top of that, and so on. Then we have the conversion incrementality, right, which is the best for channel evaluation, for generally planning purposes, and MMM studies, which are the best for cross-budget planning allocation across the funnel. Okay, let's deep dive into what are actually all those solutions. I'll skip the multi-touch attribution because I talked about it, and also you probably know it. You're pretty well aware of how this works. So incrementality experiments is very similar concepts as the lift experiments, right? Where we are measuring if somebody, like if test group recalled the ad more than the control one, if they searched for the brand more than the control one. Here, we're actually looking at the conversions. So if you're a retailer and your conversion is actually purchase, so we'll have a control group. So people who would have converted regardless of your ad, right? And the test group who actually converted because of your ad. This is a very common, like, let's say that you're running also maybe some like TV campaigns, right? In the meantime, and you're having YouTube campaigns. So people might actually buy your product. They saw the ad and they might buy your product, but actually it might be like, let's say, a TV ad that actually convinced them. So with incrementality experiment, we'll able to actually check if it's just that the people by accident saw the ad and they converted, or they actually is the ad who linked them to those conversion. So we have 2 Google solutions for that. We have the conversion lift, which is user based. The conversion lift, normally you need to work with your Google account representative to have this set up, or geo experiment, which is also something you can work with your Google rep, or actually we have also open source solution or like even third-party solutions who to set this up. We recommend to have this done for different media, done quarterly. And it's best used for basically calibration of like attribution. So this is the key benefits. This is the gold standard to measure causality, and it provides the most rigorous view of incremental return generated by marketing investment. So actually, I was an incrementality expert and was doing these incrementality experiments a few years ago. So if let's say you're launching PMAX for store goals, you have stores and you want to use Google solutions to drive traffic to those stores, and you want to figure out if this solution is actually bringing incremental traffic, or people just search on Google Maps anyway to just get there, and was not the ad who led them to actually get into that store. And I was working with loads of advertisers who were like trying to figure out if actually this ad is just there and it's been there for ages, or it's actually driving incremental impact. So for some of the media types, not only at Google, but also somewhere else, it's recommended to kind of like test them regularly to see if they're driving actually incremental sales for you, and it's worth beyond just what's seen in the interface to invest in it. However, there are some like challenges here. First of all, tests are a snapshot in time and they require planning. So one of the things that like we've seen, for example, let's say you're testing a YouTube campaign during the peak, right? So like the answer that it will give you is that with this creative, with this optimization, and at this type of time, yes, this YouTube app is driving you incremental return, right? So it's worth, when you're setting up this calendar, to think of like doing it in different cycles with different formats, different also potentially creatives. User-based studies, so conversion lift in this case, are often conservative because we're in a world of tracking gaps, right? And they're impacted by that. GOX is a solution to that. It doesn't care about like user gaps because you might even use your own data basically for measuring the impact. However, they're often disruptive with high opportunity cost. So very often, like the discussions I was having with advertisers was like, okay, let's say you want to test the brand search impact if it's driving incremental return. Are you ready to shut off half of your investment and risk the revenue, right, for that? Or maybe you want to shut off 20%, but maybe it will not be as robust and it will not give you the answer that you want. So there are loads of things to kind of like bear in mind with this solution. Media mix modeling. Media mix modeling is basically, it's a very sophisticated way to like truly understand what is driving your sales. So here, instead of just guessing, like MMM would use advanced statistics to look at all your media investments. So it'll be things like TV ads, digital campaigns, social media, also external factors like seasonality, promotions, or even the economy. Depends what you put in the model. And then it tells us like how efficiently each of these elements is contributing to your bottom line. So at Google, we would have open source Meridian that is based on Bayesian methodology, and also like kind of a lightweight MMM, which is a GA4 budgeting tool. Frequency, this is kind of like requires quite a lot of resources on your side, data scientists. So it's normally like companies would do it once a year before they're really planning, maybe twice a year. And it helps to decide on cross-channel budget allocation. So the benefits is that it gives a nice view of all channels, sales, and external factors. It provides also a longer-term view of media impact, and it doesn't require user level data, right? So it makes it so all the tracking problems, it's not important for MMMs. It makes it more future-proof. However, it requires it's pretty like resource intensive to run, right? You need, for example, at least 2 years of historical data. It can be quite expensive to run. Like the model is free open source, but the analytical resources you need and like how much hours it needs to be put to do it, like it can be quite expensive for you. And also you cannot run it very often, right? It's like twice a year and once a year. That's realistically what you can do here. So if you're interested, if you have like good data scientists who can set this up for you, we have actually the whole code, library, documentation, methodology papers. They're available to everyone. And so later on with the presentation, you'll get the links to GitHub and also the website. And one thing also, just to sum up those modern measurement solutions, I want to like show you kind of like overview of what answers they can give you and what answers they will not give you. So for example, with like the attribution and the conversions, you can, for example, see like over the past month, there were like 10,000 purchases, and our attribution model said that 35% were from Google, 35% were from Meta, and 30% from TikTok. And actually, like we noticed that changing some creatives and changing the bidding strategy increased ROAS by like 30%. So this is kind of like the insights you can get from having good attribution models and also conversions. With incrementality, you can have, for example, a conclusion like that people exposed to Google Ads drove 2,000 more conversions compared to those who weren't exposed. So we're thinking if we invest like 20K more, we could generate 4,000 more additional purchases, right? Or you can do it on like campaign level as well. And with MMM, what you can do is like you see that, after analyzing all like online and offline spend revenue, attribution, and seasonality data for the past 2 years, we need to adjust the ratio between like TV, offline, Google, Meta, TikTok from this to this, which would increase our revenue to that. However, like it's good to use all those solutions together because no single tool can have all the answers. So for example, with attribution, it gives you kind of like the short-term answers and also can fit the bidding. So you can, for example, it's very good for testing creatives, right? Like A/B test. Is this creative working better or this one, right? But it's limited to basically digital channels, and it's also vulnerable to tracking gaps, right? And also doesn't take incrementality in this calculation. With incrementality, they're the best at determining the causal value, but they're pretty resource intensive and it's a snapshot of concrete strategy in this point of time. And with MMMs, they're very robust, they offer breadth, including all channels and all external factors, but it always relies on historical data and is less frequently updated. So yeah, like there is no kind of like this is general kind of model that works. We think that works the best for all the advertisers. However, like those who have the resources and are like more sophisticated to put those in place. So like the decision is also up to you, like what is important to you, like what resources you have to have this set up. Yes, and that would be it from my side. I hope that you learned something new and I helped you kind of measure your YouTube strategy in a different way. And now let's go into the Q&A.
Yeah, thank you, Magda. That was so interesting. I feel like I learned a lot just listening to you break everything down. So, if anyone has any questions, you can go ahead and leave your questions in the chat box. If you think of something later, don't worry, we will be monitoring the chat. And in the email that you get, you'll be able to leave any questions as well. So, if you do want to deep dive into the presentation later and then come up with a question, of course, we will get back to you then as well. So, I'm going to give it a second to see if anyone has any questions. And while I wait for that, I did just want to go over a little bit of the logistics of the certification. So I know you guys have been getting the emails, but just as a reminder, you do need to watch all 3 sessions in order to receive the certification at the end of the course. You will get an email tomorrow with all the information for the certification. So if you have watched all of them, that'll be really exciting. You'll be able to download it and the certification will be yours. And that's pretty much it. Very simple for retrieving your certification. So just make sure you keep an eye out because that email will come tomorrow and not today. Today, you will get access to the presentation and any resources that we shared during this talk. Yeah. So I don't think that we have any questions, but maybe we'll get them later on after everyone has kind of deep dived into the information. Of course, if you're watching this later, please go ahead and leave questions in the chat. Thank you so much for joining. This has been a really great course. Thank you so much, Magda, for being here today. And also a shout out to Nil, who wasn't on the talk today, but has been in the previous 2 sessions. We've really appreciated everyone who signed up, and we hope that you learned a lot. We'll see you next time. Bye.